The electric car market in China in recent years has risen steadily, taking over the local market and taking big companies out of the game. Now its next step will be to enter the United States and conquer the world. If it happens, will we be facing Tesla's downfall?
So once you have a business, you have to take care of it and nurture it even if it ruins you.
In recent years, China has set its sights on vehicle exports as an essential part of its economy. But this will be far from easy. To understand China's electric car revolution and its impact on the world, let's go back in time. The first prototypes of electric cars are attributed to several inventors. Specifically, in 1828, it was Eneos Jedlik who created a small model of an automobile powered by an electric motor. Also, the blacksmith Thomas Davenport, in 1834, would build a similar contraption that rolled on a circular and electrified track. However, the creation is attributed to Robert Anderson, around 1832 or 1839. Anderson's idea came to fruition thanks to the prototypes of Eneos and Thomas. At the end of the 19th century, the world saw the first glimpses of what would become a mobility revolution. A vehicle called the Flocken Elektrowagen in 1888 shocked the world. It was electric and promised a silent, smoke-free future. It wasn't long before electric cars became a fashionable choice, especially for women. Because they were easy to drive and did not suffer from the complications of combustion engines. But as in all stories, the protagonists face challenges. Cheap oil and battery range limitations began to challenge their rise. However, in the late 1990s, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of the GM EV1. This electric car marked the rebirth of an idea that seemed forgotten.
The electric car is here.
And by 2008 marked a turning point with the launch of the Tesla Roadster by Tesla Motors. This event revitalized interest in electric vehicles and opened the door to a new era of sustainable mobility. But, how did Tesla manage to revitalize electric cars? Tesla began its journey with the launch of the Roadster in 2008, an electric sports car that challenged the notion that electric cars were boring and lacked performance. Despite initial skepticism, the Roadster proved that electric cars could be fast, exciting and, above all, environmentally friendly. Tesla's path was not without obstacles. For years, the lack of charging infrastructure and the public's reluctance to move away from combustion engines seemed insurmountable.
You said this year was the most exhausting year. Why? 22 hours a day? I mean, how many hours? I was working 7 days a week, sleeping in the factory. Since I worked in the paint shop, general assembly, body shop. Do you ever worry about your own implosion? Like it's just too much? Absolutely. No one should have to spend so many hours at work.
And of course, without places to charge the battery, it was impossible. However, Tesla stuck to its vision and began building its network of charging stations, known as superchargers, around the world.
It recommends where you need to stop, for how long. It prepares your battery, it warms it up to make charging happen faster. You just need to park, plug in, and you can go about your day. The mission is coming to an end, so you can maximize your time before you have to hit the road.
The launch of the Model S in 2012 was a turning point. This luxury electric sedan offered not only exceptional performance, but also revolutionary range for an electric vehicle. Elon Musk's vision was taking shape, and Tesla began to gain ground in the luxury car market. But the real breakthrough came with Tesla's commitment to autonomous driving technology. As the company developed its autopilot, it positioned itself as a leader in the field of autonomous vehicles. Musk set out to change the way we think about mobility, working to make cars safer and more autonomous. With each new model, Tesla pushed boundaries and gained a loyal following. As its global presence grew, the world began to realize that electric cars were not just a fad, but the future of mobility. By 2020, Tesla became the world's most valuable car company, surpassing traditional industry giants. However, competition was quickly advancing, and across China, where the public was more receptive to the technology, and the government was backing it, electric cars were already selling like hotcakes, to the point of sweeping the local market. But how did China manage to achieve such popularity? Let's take a closer look. China has left an indelible mark on the world today. From the devices we use every day to the products that fill our homes, it's hard to find anything that isn't influenced by Chinese manufacturing. As of today, they have already consolidated their presence in the domestic electric car market, and in an insider article, it is reported that last year, U.S. giants such as General Motors and Ford experienced a significant decline in their sales in China.
Of the 10 best-selling models or brands in the Chinese market, there is no German, no European, only Tesla made the list.
In contrast, Chinese buyers are turning to their own domestic market, especially when it comes to electric cars. But how did they manage to achieve these results in such a short time?
The Chinese government understood almost a decade ago that the future no longer belonged to the combustion engine, but to electric mobility, and created an industrial policy and financial support to motivate the local industry to develop an attractive offer.
What's more, Chinese battery companies experienced rapid growth. A prime example is CATL, which has become the world's leading producer of lithium-ion batteries, surpassing Japanese and Korean giants such as Panasonic and LG. This massive investment and government support created an explosive combination. The Chinese electric vehicles offered to the public were attractive, competitive, affordable, and full of advanced technology, which generated unprecedented enthusiasm among consumers. In addition, China implemented policies such as free EV registrations and the quick battery replacement strategy, which significantly reduced recharging time. What do you think of these Chinese government strategies? The result was astonishing. Sales of new energy vehicles, which include electric cars and plug-in hybrids, soared. But now Chinese manufacturers have their eyes on the US and the rest of the world. But to achieve this, it's not as simple as just talking to the US and start exporting, no. They will have to look for a strategic ally, and this is the territory of the Mexican people.
Everyone was happy for the signature, and they were on the verge of not signing anything. The signing of the treaty between Mexico, the United States, and Canada was blocked when the United States wanted to put inspectors in Mexico on issues of labor conditions and union democracy.
The choice of Mexico as a center for the production and sale of automobiles is a strategic move of great relevance. Tell me your hypotheses in the comments. Here is mine and what I believe to be the most common. Mexico's attractive geopolitical outlook lies in its proximity to the United States, which is the second largest automotive market in the world. Over the years, this proximity has attracted numerous foreign automotive companies to establish production plants in Mexico.
Plants of different car assembly companies. There are plants in 15 different states of Mexico.
These moves were facilitated by free trade agreements between Mexico and the United States, which simplified the export of Mexican-made vehicles to the United States. As a result, automotive companies invested billions of dollars in the country.
According to the New York Times, China is investing billions of dollars in setting up factories in Mexico in order to secure more sales of its various products, and we are seeing the Chinese taking their factories and locating them in Mexico near the U.S. border.
But how do Chinese companies plan to enter the United States? In the past, Chinese automakers have faced considerable challenges in trying to establish themselves in the United States. In 2008, 5 Chinese automakers, including BYD and Geely, presented their products at the Detroit Auto Show. However, factors such as economic recession, political considerations, lack of interest, and concerns about vehicle quality hindered their progress. Despite overcoming quality hurdles, the current political tensions pose a challenge for Chinese automakers as they attempt to enter the US market. However, in a moment I'll explain why this has to change if it can't work against the United States.
The U.S. Secretary of State is in Beijing on a 2-day visit aimed at reducing tensions between China and the United States.
Chery Mexico Executive Vice President Brian Wu had this to say. "We already have a solid plan on how to enter the US market, but frankly, I can't reveal more details about our strategy at this time. But wait, don't be disappointed. In the meantime, Chery is considering building a 400,000 vehicle capacity plant in Mexico, which could be destined for export. This vision of the future fits perfectly with the Mexican government's desire for electric vehicles to account for half of all cars sold in the country by 2030. Although the reality is that zero-emission vehicles made up less than 1% of new car sales in 2022.
To market the vehicles in Mexico, a first step to later disembark with an assembly plant to enter the lucrative North American electric car market.
Historically, there has been precedent, even though Japanese automakers once faced protectionist measures in the United States in the 1970s. Today, they not only account for a significant share of U.S. sales, but also have multiple plants in the country and employ thousands of U.S. workers. David Dollar, an expert on China's economy and U.S. relations, is skeptical about seeing many Chinese brands in the United States, arguing that the U.S. could prevent it. The Biden administration has prioritized stimulating and preserving good-paying jobs. However, according to Dollar, closing the door on Chinese electric vehicles because of political tensions could be a bad idea from an economic policy standpoint. He suggests that a more open approach would allow Chinese companies to establish partnerships with U.S. or Japanese partners. U.S. buyers would benefit from having access to more affordable electric vehicles due to increased competition, and the U.S. could make progress toward its goal of increasing electric vehicle adoption by 2030. Although a bilateral agreement between the U.S. and China does not seem close, Chinese automakers are betting that Mexico could be the bridge to access the U.S. market in the future. What would happen to Tesla if this happens? Do you think China will take over the market or not? With this, I would like to remember a phrase of, competition is good for the evolution of the market. It keeps innovation going and encourages continuous improvement.